call. Two men. One named Rich. That's me.
This is Jermaine. Just got off the toilet.
He's a foul man. This is the X's and O's of life.
Huh?
I can't help but always giggle at that.
So that's your kid playing guitar there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's doing like a typo negative version of Big Balls.
Yeah, like...
What does he tune to?
Like
C sharp? What does he tune to there?
Oh, dude, I have no idea. I'm an idiot with, music. I love music, but I'm like,
okay.
I have no idea.
Now, when you say a kid, how old are we talking about here?
18.
Oh, he's a kid. Okay, yeah, he's a teenager.
Yeah. He just got into
playing guitar.
Yeah, he has like 2 electrics, an acoustic, and a lute.
Whoa! How long's he been playing? That's dope.
I think like 3 years, man. We had to wait till we actually like showed interest in it, like continuous interest. We're like, we're not going to invest in you until you
Is
actually
he like a
invest in
metalhead,
yourself.
Or?
He tries to be.
Okay, he's got
one
like
of
long
those.
hair and shit. Does he have like?
He does.
Yo!
He does.
Oh, yes, you have a metalhead son. That's nice.
I do, and I.
All right.
Then I
like it. I dig it.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because didn't really see that coming.
Yeah, you never do when the metalhead happens. You never.
Hey, I'm not mad at it. I mean, he could be one of those weird, sit in your room all day and do nothing people. So.
Wow, what kind of stuff does he listen to?
Dude, he's 18. He doesn't talk to me. I have no idea. It's one of those things where I've gone like days where I'm like, oh, do you still live here? Oh,
yeah.
All right. Hi.
I have 2 girls. They're both in college now, but the teenage years were brutal. I mean, for me personally, it was just like a lot of fighting, a lot of crying, a lot of door slamming. It was just like.
And that was just from you.
Yeah, that was my end. But now it's just a lot of like car borrowing and like buying people things. So,
Yeah, these are a lot. This is one of those. I give you a lot of rides to the gym, and you don't like you have your headphones in the car. I'm just like, can you be a people?
I remember those. Yeah, like they're on the phone the whole time or something. But you know what? They're 18. That's I loathe my parents at 18. I like loathe them as human beings. I'm
just trying to be cool with him, so he like puts me in a home and doesn't just let me rot at home.
Yeah, that's the goal now. Now that my kids are like 20 and 19, recently 19, it's like I'm just riding this wave of goodwill into like my 60s and 70s. So this way they don't forget. Especially like the younger one. That's the one we're really counting on. Keeping us out of cat food and homelessness.
Yeah. I got one, and then I've pseudo adopted the other one, which I keep forgetting I'm not actually his dad, but it's like basically it's fine.
Yeah,
we're kind of figuring he's going to be the one that takes care of us. The other one is probably going to disown us, but it's fine.
Yeah, I mean it's 50-50, so you should just count your blessings with that.
Yeah. So, look. This is the X's and O's interview edition. I got Jon Draper here, and I'm super excited about it. Like I'm doing that little giddy little schoolgirl thing inside. I have said it multiple times. One of the best voices, like literal voices in the podcasting game. Just insanely amusing. What do you do? Who are you? Tell the folks.
So my background prior to podcasting was in bands through the Northeast, mostly in the New York hardcore scene. Like my whole family, out of 5 brothers, 4 are all involved in music, whether it's performing, writing, working for labels, managing, booking, tour managing. So 3 people are singers, separate singers. And then another brother was more like a booking person and ran like a metal bar for a really long time, booking bands, a lot of big bands through Queens in New York. And I did that for many years. And then I kind of went into more like alternative rock for a while, did that for a while. That was a little bit more of a higher. The ceiling's a lot higher than hardcore, so, but that's a high bar. But that's my whole background comes from like playing music and mostly the hardcore scene and being around that in New York City. And I stumbled into wrestling podcasting, through my brother Kevin Castle, who had a big wrestling podcast, and they were on the same sort of platform as Wrestling Soup, which is another big wrestling podcast. And I literally stumbled backwards into being a regular on that show, doing impressions, telling a lot of stories, making fun of a lot of people, and getting into fights. And, I got to travel to Chicago, doing an appearance for Wrestling Soup. We did a show in New York City when WrestleMania was in Jersey. That was fucking wild times. And then during COVID, I just got very bored with wrestling podcasting and really wanted to talk more about anything but that. So we started a show called Break the Apocalypse, and I left the show and I wasn't on it for a good while. And then that was like a COVID kind of podcast, where people were home a lot. And, the whole premise was that the world ended and, we're all still here. Like the life is over and no one can go anywhere and we're stuck here. So we would talk about that. And then at a certain point of doing that for a couple of years with Bisha O'Brien and Shaheen was like, listen, why don't we just talk more about like movies and shit? Because this is all we end up talking about anyway. And this is what we know the most about. And we're constantly talking about movies and, streaming and things like that. So we changed the name and called it Spitball Media last year. And it's a small show, but we have like a really loyal group of people that engage with it on a regular basis. And in the last couple of years, I went back to Wrestling Soup, sporadically. I was just on recently. I'll probably be on for Mania, for the big stuff. So that's like podcasting was sort of like, I didn't even know what it was until I actually was on one, really, I never listened to one. I had heard about it from Kevin Smith. People would talk about the Smodcast. Is that right? Yeah, I think
I don't know.
he had like the first podcast, like Kevin Smith.
Really?
Oh yeah, he had like one of the first. Him, Mark Maron, and Rogan. These are like the three people that really kind of popularized the medium. I didn't know what the fuck it was. I remember when I was going on Wrestling Soup like 7 or 8 years ago, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll just call in." I called in actually, which was weird to think about now. Like I don't know why. Like I'm trying to remember why the fuck was I on a phone? But I was on a phone, and then so I was like, so you just send me like an email or something? Like how does this work? And it's wild because it's like my whole identity now after like decades of playing in music. And I thought, oh, that would be the thing maybe somebody will know me from. And the world are so not even like, they're not even in the same stratosphere. Like for years, no one in music even knew I was on the show. And then people on the show didn't know we ever played music. So it was like, these things just don't bleed into each other that well, to be honest with you. They just don't. Like, I don't know. I just feel like, and I've found this out the hard way too. I feel like people just want to know you one way. They just want you to say snarky shit, be a wise ass on the internet. And it's like, hey, I wrote this really good song. It's like, no. Do the Kevin Owens impression. Like, it's like, no, look, my album is getting re-released. Like, yeah, that's great. Do the Bray Wyatt impression. That's the one. And it's just like, oh, okay, I get it. I'll just do what you want.
That sucks, man.
It's part of it. It's entertainment though. That's the entertainment business,
I guess you can't
world.
I guess you can't really be too hard up on it. Like at least you're known for something.
Oh yeah. It's wild. Yeah. I mean, most people aren't known for anything.
Right.
It's just very strange. It's very strange now. It's 2024. And I think this started in 2018 for the Soup, probably. And it's just like my whole internet presence, nothing with music, nothing, but everything with these shows, and it's just like, oh, like I thought I made good music. Like, I don't know. Like, and it's very weird. Like sometimes it'll bleed over in people, but it's more like a shock.
Right.
Like someone's like, you made albums? I'm like, yeah, that's literally all I thought I would do my whole life was like write songs and play and tour and, and do that kind of bullshit, and
would you change it if you could?
Well, the thing is, like, so when I was doing pretty well in music, my real life job was so amazing, and it afforded me the luxury to do that kind of thing. So I would take all of my vacation and tour and take off to go play and stuff like that and make no money. So I like to this day, I know people who I think are famous in like the hardcore scene, the metal scene, even like hip hop, stuff like that, but they're not like famous, they don't have regular jobs, they don't have to wake up and punch a clock, but they're not living that high on the hog either. So it's like, I liked having like, an apartment in Manhattan more than I wanted to be a singer in a band. So I was like, so let me have my apartment in Brooklyn and Manhattan and go on these nice vacations and buy a comic book store and then play 4 times a month or 5 times a month. While my friends were not doing any of that. They were going to Europe, they were going to Japan, they were putting out albums, they were on MTV, they were on the radio. Not rich, but like, they were playing like 4 or 5 times a week. So I like to own things. Like I like there's no substitute for having things. And if you could have done both, awesome. But the people that were more successful musically that I know, they don't have bad lives, but they, it got very tumultuous during things like COVID when they couldn't tour. And also you can't make money unless you perform live or sell lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of merchandise. And you have to sell a lot of merchandise. I mean, we're talking about like thousands of shirts to get a little bit of money back. So it's like, I didn't want that stress. I would rather just have a job, be a weekend warrior, and still get a lot of the perks of hanging out. And that was the thing. I loved hanging out. I wanted to be drunk. I wanted to fuck around with chicks, and I wanted people to like kiss my ass from being in music. So
Fair.
and that's really what it was. I think Ice Cube said on maybe his first album, he said, "I'm in it for the pussy, the money, and the mic." And I remember hearing that in like 90 or something. And I was like, that's what I want to do. That's me. I'm like 19. I'm like, that's me. I want to do that, but it's a very, I have to tell you, like lifestyle wise, it's a brutal lifestyle. Like, it's a lot of drama, a lot of drugs, a lot of fights.
Well, because all you see is like the glamorous stuff, right? They're not gonna like
Not even
there
really
isn't
glamorous, dude. There's nothing glamorous about sitting in a van for 9 hours, like going to play like a good show and then getting screwed on the money. And then you find out like where you're staying is a fucking hellhole and it's got fucking roaches and fucking bed bugs, and like everybody's got to share like 2 beds, and you're like a grown ass man, but you didn't really sell a lot of merch that night, so you can't get another room. I mean, this is like, and then it's like gas money, and then you borrowed money from the label, and now the label wants the money back, or they're not going to put you back on the road. This is not glamorous. And then nobody's eating like, you're eating like Wendy's and smoking cigarettes, like 15 cigarettes in a row because you're stuck in the van. And this was before like cell phones or the internet. So it's like, you're literally just in a van with people. Maybe you have a disc man or something. Like nobody brought books. I could tell you that. I would bring graphic novels because I was like a comic nerd, but you're in this life with these people and you're breathing each other's farts and burps and hearing about their fighting with their girlfriends and their parents. And it's just like, it's another relationship. It's just another, like, it's a marriage. It is, you're married to multiple people and you're not a Mormon. Like, that's what it feels like.
That's where I was going with that. That's funny.
It's a shitty life. Like I had said about him, I said this, I think on Twitter, I was like, the only life I think is difficult as a professional wrestler is a professional person in entertainment. One thing I've noticed now, this is just from my world, which is a very, like the hardcore scene is still a very secluded world. As people got in their 40s and like 50s, they transitioned into doing like merchandise. So I know people that do merchandise for like Foreigner and like the Blind Opera Singer or Celine Dion. And these are like metal and hardcore guys and girls. And now they travel with like Celine Dion selling their t-shirts. Like they're in that torn light and they're staying in nice hotels and they're getting, they're getting flown to places to do, because that's how much road years they've had. I mean, it's a pretty cool, like if you ever go to a concert, like say you go to like, say you have to take your kid to a concert you don't want to go to, right? And like, I wouldn't be surprised if the person doing the merch is a former musician, a current musician, because that life is so hard. And it's like, who better to bring on the road with you than someone who's been on the road already? You know, nobody wants to.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I got a good friend. He's done, dude, he's done like Enrique Iglesias. He just did Justin Timberlake. He's a hardcore guy from Long Island, dude. He's a hardcore New York hardcore guy, early 40s, selling Enrique Iglesias t-shirts to you know, because he knows what he's doing. Like that's what that scene, you know, taught you. It was very independent. You know, you had to put the work in. You know, it's a tough gig. I've done merch for some pretty good bands as like a favor sometimes. It's fun, but it's mad stressful. Like selling merchandise at a concert, dude. Oh my God, bro.
Why is it so stressful? Tell me.
Because these motherfuckers just walk right over and start touching something, start telling you shit and blah, blah, blah,
Okay.
blah, blah. Let me see the large. No, not that. No. Is that two-sided? No. There's no two-sided? Hold on. There's no two-sided. Hold on. I'm on the phone with my brother. He wants a two-sided. Hold on. He said, do you have the medium? No. That's one-sided. And this is 1,000 times. And now that's just at like big punk and hardcore festivals. Can you imagine doing merch for like Justin Timberlake?
Right.
In an arena? Do you have any idea how long that line must be of people? I mean, you know, and then you got to keep track of this $80 fucking sweatshirt, you know, and then God, you know, but I've noticed that to me, like that fascinates me as an older dude who doesn't play. So I'm like, wow, I think I would handle that pretty well. But I think at the end of the day, I would just freak out on somebody,
Yeah,
you know, for being a douche. You know, I remember I did merch for a big hardcore band that I was on the road with, like as a favor, hanging out, and they did this big festival in Virginia, and this was like a huge festival. And we pull up there, and I was going to do half of their merch, and then another guy was going to do it, and I was going to get to hang out. And I remember we went up there. We're all guys like 40 at the time, and big guys, right? And I'm hanging up these like 3XLs and these 2XLs and these 3XLs and these 2XLs. And then I'm looking around the crowd, and it's like a medium crowd, dude. Like,
oh no,
all skinny, young, hardcore kids in shape, like want the tightest t-shirt. And like I had like 6 mediums.
Oh,
like, no. I remember they're not going on to like 8th out of 15 bands, you know, maybe like a couple thousand people there. And I remember I'm like hanging out and I'm like doing my thing, and I'm smoking at the time, you know, and I'm running out to smoke a cigarette. And then maybe like an hour before they go on, all of the mediums are gone they only had 6 mediums of certain shirts, like 6. And the merch is selling. Like I'm counting, like I'm getting money here for them. I'm up to like $800. And the thing is, when you play, what a lot of people don't know is, if you're not super famous, when you play, that's when people buy your merch. So you have the people that went there to like you, that are going to buy it early, but nobody wants to carry that sweatshirt. I don't want to carry it. You don't want to carry it, right? But then you have kids that go, that was really good. I'm going to go buy the shirt right now. So that first like half hour after you get off, especially in a festival, is enormous. You better be ready. Every kid coming over to me wanted a medium. Every fucking kid. And I have like this fistful of money. And I remember the drummer comes over, and I'm pale. And I go, why aren't there any more mediums? There's no mediums. And he's like, yo, Jill. And I go, there's 4XLs up here. There's no 4XLs to show. We're the only 4XLs. And but yeah, I just remember that, like, the kids were like, no mediums. And I was like, because you want to sell too. You want to, especially if it's your band,
right?
You know, like, what if you're in, and a lot of people sell their own shit, and it's like you're just walking money, and interest leaves too, bro. Like, it's a fascinating. It's, if you've never been around the music world in a low level or a small level, it's a fascinating world, man. Like, there's a lot of things going on there that I think people would be surprised from a business standpoint. You need to be savvy as a motherfucker, bro. You know, like I've been with bands that almost sold out a room, but were 6 tickets short from getting the sellout bonus, and they all went in their pockets to pay the full price for the 6 tickets because the bonus was so big for selling out
more because
yeah.
Okay.
It's like, well,
Wow.
we're max capacity is 400 tickets. We're at 391. They're like, what is it? $20 ticket? Because the bonus is like another 20%.
Right.
That kind of thing. It's wild. And then sometimes the clubs want a percentage, and that's a whole other world. But yeah, that's like the world I'm kind of like I'm noticing now as I'm older. I'm like, oh, who's doing the merch for that? Like like some old grandma, like like the way like I just it's a weird world. Like I love still going to shows. I still get treated very well at shows, and there's some big shows here. I played a great show in Pittsburgh. I think it was in '98. Yeah, I played with a band from Jersey called Ink and Dagger. They're like a legendary band out of Philly, like South Jersey. And I was on the road with them for a few days, and it was an all ages show, like by the woods. And I remember there was this bar right by the club. We got there early, and we were on the road with them, so we got to get a sound check. We were going on first. And then I just remember there was all these kids drinking by the woods, and somebody from one of the other bands goes, dude, don't get too close to those kids. I think they're like huffing and trying to get people to come over there so they could stab them and throw them in the woods.
Okay.
I was like, where are they? I want to make friends.
Right. Oh, God.
If I remember, your bars close at 1 or 2?
It's 2. There's some in like weird, sketchy areas that are 3.
This is a true story about the last time I was in Pittsburgh. So I'm on. This is the second time I was there. So now we're playing a better club where I guess all the college kids hang out. I don't know the part of town. This is 25 years ago, 28 years ago. And by the time we load up, get changed, go back to the hotel.
It was probably in Oakland, honestly.
It sounds familiar. So we show up at this place. It's like 1:30-ish. And it's packed, and they're playing cool music, and we're like, wow. And we're like,
was it Club
20s.
Laga?
I don't remember. It was like, This is 97, 98.
Yeah,
and I just remember we all get a drink, and we're sitting down, and I'm like, this is so much fun. Oh, wow. I'm really glad we came here. This is awesome. This is going to be a good night. All of a sudden, the lights go on, and they go, last call. And I was like, because I'm from the city, so it's like, you're drinking at like 4:00, in New York City. You are. Bars close at 4, and that's all I know. And I'm like, "Yo, we gotta leave." So we go to like these girls. I'm like, "Hey, is there like an after hours?" And they're like, "Ha ha 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 ha!" Like like no after hours. Not in this town.
Yeah, it's a strip club. That's about it.
Yeah, they were like, "No, there's no after." And I just remember we got all dolled up, showered, like, "Oh, we're gonna tell them we're in a band and like go hang out with these girls." I maybe sat down for 5 minutes, got my first drink, and it was like my last drink. And I was like, oh, this sucks. Because a lot of the shows I would play would be no alcohol. They'd be all ages and stuff.
Yeah,
right. They were hardcore venues, and they weren't in bars. But I just remember like, man, I was having such a good time until that happened.
That sounds about how Pittsburgh is. Like you have a good time for a little bit. Then everything hits the fan. You're like, oh yeah, no, I hate it. Never mind, we're good.
Yeah, I was there twice, both for hardcore shows, and I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. It's quite far. I remember that when you're not like in an environment. I think I played. I want to say, where was the office supposed to be? Scranton.
Yeah,
we were Scranton, Pittsburgh, and then we had to go back to Queens to play Kevin Castle's club. And this was before we had the internet and stuff, so we got lost. We never even made it to the Queens show. And we're from New York.
Oh shit!
Like it is just so embarrassing. But yeah, well,
I told you like the infrastructure is built by a drunk 5-year-old. There are one ways to go into one ways to go into exits that don't go into exits. It is broken and weird, and I feel bad for people that don't live here, but I feel bad for people that do live here because it's still confusing. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we got lost very badly trying to leave. Yeah. That was the thing. And like we were like we had to pull over to a little league baseball game. And we had this crusty like I think it was like a Zuzu Trooper with a illegal hitch on it, with all the gear in it. And we got out of the car and we walked over, and it was weird because we were very clean cut, like hardcore looking, like skinny, young. The guys were a lot younger than me. I was like 27. They were like 22. And like we were the least threatening looking people. And me and two other guys got up to walk over with a pen and paper. Clearly we want directions. Like, what the fuck? And all these dads got up like aggressively, like, what the fuck do you think we're doing over here? Like, we're lost. We got New York plates. We're clearly lost. We're pulling over to a little league game. I think it was a soccer game. And all these dads just like burly Pittsburghy dudes, beardos, were just like, what's going on? I was like, well, hoping you could help us get the hell out of here, you know? And they gave us like really like local directions.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's like, what you want to do is by make the left over by the Citgo or whatever. And I'm like, well, what's Cit? Like, what the fuck is the Citgo? Like, what is it? And then it was like, we're trying to write this down. And I was just like, these dudes are and I remember one of the dudes in the band, he was driving. He was like, they're giving us the wrong directions on purpose.
Well, yes and no. So we're very, we're stupid out here. That's probably the easiest way to put it. We'll do directions like, yeah. All right. So remember 2 years ago where that fucking car hit that stop sign? Yeah, make a left there. All right.
That's a local direction though, Rich.
Right.
That's you tell somebody who knows the area.
Yeah. Well, we're also socially inept and we don't pick up on those things. We're just like, hey, fucking you. It's like you're here by osmosis.
You'll see it. I remember them being like, you'll see it. And we're like, we're in a residential neighborhood, nowhere. Like we're nowhere near a highway, nowhere near anything. I think it was like, it wasn't a biker club, but it felt like that to me. Like, you know, at the time. But yeah, it was really, I just remember those dads getting up from their little chairs. Like, oh, let's see what this is about. Like we're not Al Qaeda. Like, what the fuck? Like, we couldn't. Like, two of the dudes, like, they couldn't have looked more like just got out of high school-ish if they tried. You know, like jeans, t-shirt, short hair, no tattoos. No one. I had some, but no one looked like that. You know, it was very clean cut, young, doofy guys.
Well, you're a dad at a soccer game, so it's like, I mean, you're not really soups threatening, but.
Yeah, it's just weird. There was so many people there too, and I was like, "Isn't it like 8 a.m? Like, what the fuck are all these people doing?" I couldn't conceive being the dad at a soccer game. You know, I'm on my little bullshit fake hardcore tour, with our Zuzu trooper. You know, by the way, nobody with us. It was four guys in the band at the time. That's who was there. It was the four of us, and I didn't have a driver's license.
Oh shit!
So it was 3 guys driving everywhere. Oh, those are the days. But yeah, that's kind of like my background was more really being around bands, touring with bands, and meeting people from bands, mostly hardcore punk and like metal bands, you know, and then getting into more like college rock and playing with those kind of bands, which was not as fun. It was a lot of dudes just trying to cheat on their wives, I think, at that point.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. The hardcore scene was more like socials, like, oh, you like this band, I like this band, nobody else likes them, we're gonna be good friends. And then you do like the college rock tours, and like everybody's just trying to get on the radio, everybody's just trying to make a video, everybody's just trying to get an opening slot playing for a bigger person. But it was a lot of fun, man. Like, I wouldn't trade that shit for anything. I'm glad I didn't say I will sleep on a parent's couch so I can go to Japan. You know, I don't think my youngest brother did that a lot, but I wasn't built that way. I wanted money. You know, I wanted to have the freedom. I feel like money was freedom, and like I was one of the only people that had their own apartment from working.
Right.
That was cool. You know what I mean? My real life was conflicting with my fake rock star lifestyle. That's what it was. That's how I would remember it anyway. It was like fake music, fake, like being in a fake band. It's not really fake, but like the lifestyle was fake because I had to go to an office and put a tie on every Monday, no matter what I did.
But you still got to live like a pretty cool fucking life though. Like that's.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And I just never wanted it to be like, if it wasn't going to, it was like an all or nothing thing for me. Like I never wanted it to be like the ceiling is the limit, you know?
Right.
Like that's the thing. You know, I have so many close friends in their 50s now, and they will go back to when they were popular in the 90s, play a show, and there'll be more people at that one show than there was at maybe 40 shows if you added their 30 shows in a row. Or, people will wear their t-shirts now that are 20 years old, that when they were 20, they couldn't get anybody to wear their t-shirts. That's kind of cool. Like, I think that's great. Like, I like nostalgia even
See,
for.
I appreciate that. What I don't
Yeah.
like is seeing like a 20-year-old wear a Beatles t-shirt. It's like, fuck off.
Yeah, to me, I didn't like that when I was a teenager. And like, I remember a senior in high school, I got into the hardcore scene. This is like 1989. And, no internet, a lot of people didn't even have a CD player.
Yeah.
And like, I would see kids wear like a Slayer t-shirt, like badass, right? And I'd say U2 was very popular. Like the Joshua Tree tour was very
I
popular.
fucking hate U2. I'm sorry. I fucking hate them. I can't
I'm just trying to
stand
remember
it.
what the popular, and Depeche Mode, that was very popular. But then you'd see kids wear like an Abbey Road t-shirt. And I just felt like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're living at this time, like you got like, I always liked the goth kids, and because I like their music so much, like The Cure and all that stuff, the Susie and the Banshees. I love the music. I didn't want to look like that. Because I wanted
Yeah, you could pull it off.
I wanted to go to the beach. But like I liked everybody's music, and hip hop was becoming very popular in New York, like at the time, like very, very like
funny enough about hip hop, the guy I actually I almost worded that wrong. I was like, yeah, the guy I did earlier. I'm like, that didn't happen. the guy I interviewed earlier, he's like a comic and a cop. He used to fucking kind of fuck with NWA out in Cali. Like,
oh wow, that's amazing.
As a cop, and he was like, we had a fucking understanding. Like, it was cool. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Anyway,
yeah, I bought the NWA Straight Outta Compton record. I was a senior in high school in 1989 at the CBGB's record store. So you had CBGB's in New York, and they had a record store. I think it was called the Canteen, and they would sell vinyl, and they would sell a lot of punk and thrash, but they would play hip hop at the hardcore matinees. Like they played the first time I heard Straight Outta Compton with that intro. That bam 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 bam. I was at a CBGB's matinee. And everybody was, because it was protest music. And, this was the Lower East Side, late 80s. There was a thing going on called squatters' rights, which, at the time was a new kind of phenomenon, where you had all these abandoned buildings in the Lower East Side of Manhattan with roaches and rats and hookers and homeless people. And
nice.
This is like also the height of AIDS in New York and the advent of AIDS culture. And these punks and artists would move into these buildings, set up illegal electricity, break into like the water systems and shit like that, and live there. And then the police would come in mass and just throw everybody out. And there was a park, it's still a park, obviously, but a park called Tompkins Square Park. There was a riot there. Like I was a kid in the Brooklyn suburbs falling into this world by accident. And like all of this is going on. So when you would go to a CBGB's matinee, they wouldn't play like the local hardcore band. They would play Black Sabbath. They would play Motorhead. They would play NWA. They would play, because this was like street music. This was like, this was the first time I heard like Motorhead's like Orgasmatron was, or like Iron Fist, or, they're all the big Motorhead songs, was at like CB's. And I remember hearing Black Sabbath going, oh, I wonder why they're playing Black Sabbath. It's like, yeah, because this is like working class, the advent of heavy metal, But I bought Straight Outta Compton, and I put it on, and I came home, and I don't know that I ever really heard cursing on a real record before that wasn't made by like kids, like hardcore kids. And like they're talking about pussy and all sorts. I was like, yo, what the fuck? He's talking about punching a bitch in the face. I was like, Eazy-E was the illest dude. Like, oh my God. I was like, and then it kind of got, the hardcore scene got swept up in that in New York. And then a year later, Cypress Hill come out, and everybody that was a skinhead, it felt like, at New York at the time, showed up in a Carhartt and a goatee and a shaved head and a flannel. And then the Beastie Boys Check Your Head came out, and then House of Pain and all, and it was like, yes, like there was this turnover in New York where the punks and the skins, not so much the punks, like the crusty punks, whatever, but like the skinheads, the non-racist skinheads who were of all walk of life. I should clarify for people who don't know. Most of them that I knew were not white at all. They got very like hardcore was getting thuggy. Like it wasn't like this youth crew, I don't do drugs and I shave my head and I hate the government. It was like, yeah, because it was a very violent scene. And unfortunately that kind of took over New York for I think it's kind of maybe in a lot of ways still like that. But the people would say there was like this weird sea change I noticed, like culturally when you're in an independent scene, like when it becomes sort of mainstreamed. But that was a weird time to be alive because then grunge came out. And now everybody wants to look like Lane Stanley on like when he had his braids and Alice in Chains. And that so it was like we were going through to be a young person at that time, a teenager into his 20s for Nirvana, the Chili Peppers, Soundgarden.
And that's kind of like where because I'm 37. So
yeah, you're not that young, dude.
Yeah, dude. Oh, fucking tell my back and my knees that they're well aware of it.
You're not that young.
I mean, look, not for nothing. Like my favorite concert I ever went to was STP when they came. It was like the last time.
Oh wow!
Before,
I saw them on that last run. I saw them on that last run with my ex-wife, and I wasn't like the super. I was a super fan, I guess. I'd never seen them before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird time. Like you went from this thing, like you were a teenager and you were like all your friends were punks and skinheads and like hardcore kids and metalheads. And then like everybody's kind of thugged out for like West Coast rap look. And everybody's wearing Carhartt hats in the summertime. And has goatees now. And then grunge came and then it was like heroin. And
nice.
And then everybody, I lived in a house with 4 friends. And unbeknownst to me, all 4 were shooting heroin behind my back.
Dude, I was born addicted to heroin.
Jesus.
Yeah, fun story.
Wow.
Yeah. My mom was a terrible person. It's fine.
Good Lord. Did she get herself together?
Oh no, she's dead. She got AIDS. She's died.
Really? So your mom contracted AIDS through being an IV drug user?
Yeah.
Wow.
And my dad was an actor / kind of cameraman.
Okay, so he's in the entertainment business.
Yeah, I never met him. He didn't. Was
your mom in the entertainment business?
It depends what you consider that entertainment business. No, she was just she just liked heroin a lot and liked to.
Yeah, heroin must be awesome. I mean, it must be the greatest thing ever.
Seriously, like because I was a drug deal. I was a drug deal. So that's my title. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
He was doing a cameraman for Gung Ho. He was doing camera work for Gung Ho.
Gung Ho, the movie Gung Ho?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Michael Keaton movie, the Ron Howard, Michael Keaton, 80s.
In like 86. Yeah.
Yeah. I know very familiar with that movie because it was the first time they showed like unions and.
Yeah. Like look, my name.
Yeah.
If you IMDb Richard Dow, like that's, you're going to see his whole fucking thing. He doesn't have a picture.
Right.
But yeah, like he was doing camera work and she's like, hey, you want to put your thing in my thing so I can put my thing in my thing? Yeah, dude.
Wow. And those were the exact words. Put your thing in my thing, put my thing.
Essentially, yeah. There was probably a lot of like slurring and stuff, but yeah.
Now, how long ago did your mom pass away?
I was 12. I never lived with her.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Brother.
Oh, dude. I never lived with her. My grandparents raised me, man.
Thank God for them.
They got me from the get-go. And
my God, dude. That is unfucking believable.
Oh, I'll tell you even better. I never even met my dad, dude. Never even met him.
Tons of people like that.
Never. He made his deposit and made his departure.
Does he even know you were born?
Yeah, I saw a letter that my mom wrote to him.
Sue that guy. No.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so she sent him a letter, like a registered letter or some shit, whatever that was.
This is like a movie, dude.
Dude, it legitimately is. And he never responded. It was pretty much like, you knew what this was, Toodles.
So what now you were an only child?
That I know of, yeah.
Okay. And what was now from that first year with your mom to 12 must have been like hell on earth.
Oh, so she would so like I said, I grew up with my grandparents. Like they got me the day I was born, they went to the courts. They're like, yeah,
Okay,
no,
thank God.
you're not
I thought
fucking
maybe you
doing
were with your
that.
mom for 12 years.
No, the most time I ever spent with her was a weekend, and I got sick because there was a fly in cornflakes. Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
good times.
Was your mom a young person? Like, was she like very young and like susceptible to like?
Yeah. So she had
I'm
me.
fascinated about this.
Oh, dude, hey, look, I'm all about it. I'm an open book, man.
Wow, my God.
I believe she was 36
when she passed away.
No, I think she was like 45 or 40. No, yeah,
so
she had to have been like 47.
So she was in her 30s.
Yeah, she was 36. Yeah, so she had to be
Wow.
47. Yeah.
So like your grandparents like saved your life.
Yeah. Now everyone's dead now. Everyone, like all my family is dead.
Wow.
They're all in my basement.
Jesus
I'm a
Christ.
gallows humor guy. Sorry.
How could you not be though? Because like, you know what's funny? You could weaponize that to fail at everything in your life.
Absolutely,
and you're
man.
still young enough where people would be like, Rich, it's okay, Rich's mother. It's okay. And that,
dude, I look at it like this. I'm a super independent person, right?
Well, clearly,
and I
you kinda
can't
didn't have a choice, Rich.
Well, I mean, that's fair enough. I can't
You
imagine.
didn't have a choice.
Well, I look at it like this. Like you said, I very well could have just crumbled, but I take all of that
as a crutch and say, well, I can't get a job and I can't get a spouse and I can't have a family and I can't drive a car and I can't hear things that I don't like because my mom was a terrible person and she was a drug addict and I had to. It's like, it's just weird. Like you're like the anti sort of in your generation where like
it's like and man up, pussy. Let's go. Like keep
also
it moving.
you're from an area I imagine in Pittsburgh. It's it's not exactly a pussy town, dude. I mean, like
no.
I asked for directions and we almost got jumped by dads at a soccer game. I was associated Pittsburgh with being a pretty tough town.
We're aggressively nice. We're like, hey, how are you? Go fuck yourself.
People. Like you're like big. Everybody there was so big. I was like, why are you putting the fucking water here? And I'm like 6'1", and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what are you guys eating for breakfast? Like around here? Like what the fuck?
They're getting Diet Coke and $14 bacon.
Now, how much have you traveled through this country? Like, I'm
dude,
curious.
not a ton, but me and the wife tend to do like a lot of cruises because we're those pretentious douchey people.
That's fun.
So we saw like all the islands and shit.
Okay, but like, have you been to New York City? Have you been to LA? Have you been?
No, but I am going to Boston. I actually asked Numbers fucking about, hey, look, give me some tips about going to Boston because my wife's biracial. I'm like, dude, I don't want her to get fucking shot. So like, where should we go and where should we not go?
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing the Boston thing for that birthday. Eventually, I want to go to like New York because she loves the Broadway stuff. And
you got to go see a play on Broadway, man. It's awesome. I'm such a fan. Yeah, because I noticed like I feel like a lot of people where you live, and like I've been through mostly the Northeast.
Yeah.
So, but I've toured out west. I've been out to like Arizona and stuff like that, and I've been to like California. But like I feel like there's certain pockets through the parts of the Midwest and the Northeast where people can go their whole life and not leave. Parts of Detroit
it's
were like
super
that
weird to me.
Parts of Pennsylvania, like Western PA, were like that to me. Even like I live in upstate New York now. And like I went to get a passport a few weeks ago. Now remember, I grew up in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I've only lived in Brooklyn and Manhattan. I lived in Manhattan. I lived in New York City. And then I move up here, to 2 hours north, right? So 140 miles north. So I'm getting a passport. I'm getting my passport renewed because we're going to Mexico. And I purposely went to I like to go to the small little towny things up here.
Yeah.
Because I like that. Like I want to go to a local, like a post office where everybody knows your name, like that kind of
right.
Place. So now most of those places, they're a little rock eater-ish. They are, but it's not like hillbilly or anything like that. It's just they're a little bit more Western New York. Like to them, the big trip is going down to the Capitol in Albany, like an hour away.
Right.
Like, not going to Manhattan to a Broadway show. So I'm talking to this woman, and she asked me a question about my mother's middle initial. And I froze, and I was like, I haven't thought about that my whole life. So I go, my older brother, let me just call him real quick. He's in Florida. I just want to call him. And then I was like, oh, I hope he picks up. So then I was like, I had bad reception in there. So she made a comment like, this place is notorious because it's a big old post office, like, old fashioned. She goes, yeah, it's notoriously bad reception here. So I struggling to get this info from my brother. I get my mother's middle initial. I'm fixing it. And then I was like, oh, that was so frustrating because I thought I wasn't going to be able to hear him. And she goes, you should see where I live. You can't even have the internet. My whole town doesn't have the internet. And I'm like, I wanted to be like, motherfucker, what are you talking about? Your town doesn't have that. What was this? The Footloose town? Like,
Look,
what are you?
I watched this thing on YouTube. Yesterday. It was like a Appalachia documentary. There's some
Appalachia though.
But there's some town. There's like one town, and I forget the name of it because I'm shitty.
I may have seen this too. That no one has the internet. There's no internet.
No, not that. But I mean, I guess like all the haulers are really shitty for that. But there is actually like a town where there's a satellite where they do like NASA stuff, and it's illegal to own a cell phone.
Oh my god!
I'm like, dude, what?
Wow, dude, that's hardcore. Yeah, like, and then this one was telling me, I just said something. I was like, oh, like she was like, she goes, your accent is so fun to me. She's like an older, like lunch lady woman at the post office.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, I hear that a lot up here because I'm from downstate. And she was like, well, I don't think you have to tell anybody that, sir. Like that kind of a thing, which is a little bit of a, go fuck yourself.
A little bit.
And then I forget what we just started yapping away a little bit about something. And then she just made a comment to me that she has no neighbors for like 5 to 7 miles in any direction.
Dude, I need that in my life so bad.
I was like, it sounds glorious.
Yeah. Like I want a place where I can build a moat.
I like where I'm now is like a nice college town in upstate New York, very suburb. Everybody's got multiple cars. People mind their own business. Everybody's very nice. But like, I think in my mind, when we came up here, I was thinking it was going to be more secluded. So we'll go to like the Adirondacks, which are gorgeous upstate New York, like beautiful places, because we're like an hour from there. And I get up there and that's what I kind of wanted. Like, I wanted it to be like that. I didn't want it to be like Long Island, which is where I feel like I live now. And, in a lot of ways, I wanted it to be like the Adirondacks where you have property and everybody's kind of like doing their own thing and they have no dogs on leashes. And a lot of people have horses and pigs and goats and farms. And I don't want to farm, but I'm just saying I wanted that seclusion. I love going to the upstate and the country.
We're the same person, man.
I love it,
like,
dude. Walking outside and the crickets are so loud. It's almost like I don't have tinnitus for like 1 minute of my life.
Nice.
Like
I want land, but I just don't want to have to take care of the land.
Oh my god, no, yeah. I'm saying this in the summer when I didn't have to mow anything and have to shovel. I could the winters up there are hard. I mean, you can't go anywhere. Your black ice is just gonna take your life from you,
dude. The last 3 days we've had thunderstorms because when I think of February, I think of fucking thunderstorms.
Yeah, you get wacky weather, right? You got
we do
wacky weather. Yeah.
Oh
you get extreme weather.
I mean, you got to carry a hoodie around you generally everywhere you go because you just don't know.
My youngest is now a freshman at Buffalo.
Yeah. Oh God.
So last year, I remember long before we thought she would go there, we were seeing winter reports last year of like 26 inches again. And I'm like, again? And like there was a football game there and they had to like the visiting team, all their cars were snowed over by like 6 feet of snow and they had to stay there. And I think it was like a team from like the West Coast or something. And I was like, I can't live like this. Like I don't want to live like that, like Middle Earth. Like,
well, it's the same idea as the people that live in Oklahoma. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like you do that, then you're on the weather. Like, I don't know why my house is gone because you live in the fucking middle of
like tornadoes. Yeah.
Right. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. That's a wild animal too. Like the people that deal with that. Like we live right in the middle of the tornado triangle, and I'm like, are you forced to live there? Is it legal?
Why
are you? Right. Yeah. If I like living here is fine. If I could wave a wand, I would go further, but also not have a reason to leave that much.
Right.
That's the key. Like I know people that live close to here that are commuting to New York City. That's 2.5 hours.
Oh, fuck that, dude. Unless you're getting like 1 mil a year. Get the fuck out of here. What's wrong with you?
One thing I will tell you as a guy in his early 50s, like there's no substitute for time. So
I work at home.
Oh yeah.
Me and the wife do. Yeah.
Most people do now. It's not that uncommon. But I used to have to take a train from, South Brooklyn to Jersey City, which is like an hour plus easily on the
Oh,
subway, and then
dude,
and
fuck
then a Jersey
that.
subway, like a New York, New Jersey hybrid subway called the PATH system, Port Authority subway system. And then God forbid you get stuck there. Then you got to get a boat over to the Hudson. But I don't live in Manhattan. I live in Brooklyn. And then there was a time there was a transit strike. So we got the boat, but then we were on the other side of the Brooklyn Bridge. But I don't live anywhere near the Brooklyn Bridge. I got to walk over the Brooklyn Bridge. But it's the winter time. Like it's
Oh,
right before
dude.
Christmas. And I'm just like, oh, and then you got to get on the N train and then like the A train and then the F train, or you got to get on the G train. And it's just like, there's no substitute. Like you don't get a prize at the end of the,
No.
for
You
saying
don't.
you
Oh,
spent
God.
3 hours a day on the subway for 25 years. How do you feel? Like I couldn't imagine doing that now. Like but at the time it was part
You were
of your,
used to it. Right. It was
yeah.
just it was baked into your
Oh yeah, I'm almost 10 years removed, and like
yeah.
no, I'm not
Well,
doing it.
Speaking of your little town things, have you ever been up to Gettysburg?
No.
Listen, I don't know. It doesn't matter if you're a history buff or like one of those ghosty
I do
buffs.
like history quite a bit, but
Dude, it is a super nice place to go, and as much of a tourist trap as you think it is,
yeah,
you will
sure.
go there. You will go there, and it's not anything like that. It's a real homey thing, and you will
Cool.
probably buy a house.
With my mom and her boyfriend took them when they were little through like this tour through like they went all over the place. I don't remember. We were just so happy that they were gone for like a week, like to just chill out. And my mom, this is like when they were little, they were like 11.
There you are. Okay. Sorry, you froze up for a minute. I don't know what happened.
Oh, I don't know what happened there. So I know my kids did that, but they found it kind of boring, but they were like 8, 9, and 11.
Right.
They wouldn't have appreciated that shit. I don't hate that shit. Like to me, like we're going to Mexico for a week in a couple of months, and then we're going to this resort a month after that. Oh wow, Jesus. We found very fancy. We're going to some resort for like it's like a retreat thing through a work thing for like all expenses paid for a few days right before like Memorial Day. And then we're going to probably rent a place in the Adirondacks for a week. And that's it. I'm good for the year. I don't need to do nothing. I don't need we were in Pennsylvania. We were in the Pocono Mountains for Thanksgiving.
Oh, I've been there before.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's why I got bed bugs though.
I mean, yeah, fair.
Yeah. So I came home with bed bugs. So me and my wife were the only people out of 30 relatives that got bed bugs in 2 mansions that we're staying in with my in-laws. And we had the one room that had bed bugs out of like 11 bedrooms, like literally 11 bedrooms. And this one mattress had bed bugs, and that was our room. No one else got it. No one, just me. My wife barely got it. I was covered to the point where I had to go to urgent care. Like
dude, really?
Holy yeah,
shit, man.
My hands they were in between my fingers. There must have been a way where I was sleeping that it just went all the way up and down into my neck, into my back, behind my head. And then my knuckles, like I couldn't like do this because they were on my bone. They were like on my knuckles. And there's really not much you can do.
Right.
Yeah, at that point.
Dude.
But that was in the Pocono Mountains, and I love the Pocono Mountains. I love breathing the air there.
Still? Like
yeah, like I spent New Yorkers, the Pocono Mountains, you would in the 80s and 90s, in the 70s probably, but they would advertise heavy to New Yorkers locally on the channels that you want to go there for vacation because it was cheap and it was close. So they had a place called Mount Airy Lodge. So I remember this theme song for like 40 years. It's like beautiful Mount Airy Lodge, and like you would just see couples in a champagne tub and like horses, and like it was just a place. It was like, but it was kind of like dirt. It was kind of like Atlantic City-ish, without the casino.
Okay.
Now there's casinos in most of these places, but at the time there wasn't. So like New Yorkers, like working class New Yorkers, they would go, that's their vacation. They would maybe go to the Jersey Shore, but nobody where I lived went to the Jersey Shore. If you had money, you went to the Hamptons. Very few people I know ever went there. But if you were just like a working class stiff, you would blow a weekend or a long weekend at the Pocono Mountains, because it's not that far and it's pretty inexpensive. But there's a lot of casinos there now, which is I didn't know that because I haven't been there that often. I used to play a lot of shows around there. There's a lot of like, you'd be surprised, like these places where you think nobody cares about, there are thriving independent music scenes. I bet they're going on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like bands will show up on a Thursday night from like LA and play for like hundreds of kids, and you'll be like, I didn't even know this place existed. They played here, like that's usually where you find these gems.
I used to go to play this little hole in the wall bar in Oakland, and like every Friday they had this cover band. It was called the Sounds of Seattle Tour,
Oh
and
wow,
they would cover Pearl Jam,
of course.
Soundgarden,
Of course.
and Alice in Chains. And what they actually
Wow.
did, and what I thought was pretty cool, it was obviously a 3-member set, but when they'd switch the band, they'd switch. The singer would go to drums would go to guitar.
Wow. Those
And I'm
guys
like,
probably got paid more money than I ever made playing.
it was super cool. And like, I kind of, ended up getting, friendly with them. And it was just such a super cool thing. Then they just stopped and just did like
You can only get away
Led
with
Zeppelin
that though
thing.
in like a Pittsburgh area. Like you can't do that in
Yeah.
Manhattan, dude. Like even Brooklyn, you can't really get away with that in Brooklyn.
We're kind of perennially stuck in the 90s. It's kind of what we do.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all about that life. I have zero qualms with that.
Yeah, that's what Portlandia was about, really. Like they said, the dream of the 90s is alive in Portland. Now, obviously, there's a lot more going on in Portland than that, but the slacker, that's you were born. You see, the thing is, you were born a little late. You should have been born like in the grunge era, dude.
Yeah.
That's got to be a bone of contention for you right there.
Look, it is my music of choice, but
always.
I wish I was like 5 years older, because I could have really just.
You might have seen some bands,
Yeah.
Let me make you feel bad. Okay, let me tell you who I've seen.
Thanks.
From that era. I seen Pearl Jam open for Red Hot Chili Peppers and Smashing Pumpkins. I seen Soundgarden multiple times at the time. I saw Stone Temple Pilots, but that was much later on. I did not see Nirvana. I was on a guest list for Nirvana before they were very famous, but I never heard of them, so I didn't show up.
Shit.
I think it was either Irving Plaza or the Marquee. It was them and maybe Sonic Youth. I think that's where they got, when Nevermind came out, they were the opening act for a Sonic Youth tour. I'm trying to think of the lesser. Tool on the first album.
I fucking love Tool.
Tool on, not on Opiate, but on the first album, Undertow. Helmet on the Betty tour with Henry Rollins. I'm trying to think who else that you would know from that era. But those are the heavyweights there.
Yeah.
And then I was at the second Lollapalooza, and Pearl Jam went on second. Soundgarden went over 2 bands over Pearl Jam. And the headliner for that was the Chili Peppers with Ministry and Ice Cube. Yeah. And that's just like the bands, the Peppers, I forget. Fishbone, when they were really popular. I'm just trying to think about the grunge. I saw probably a lot more grungy bands, but not as big. There was like a band called Paul from Lawrence, Texas, who, if you like grunge, you should be downloading anything you can from Paul.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They're like the poor man's like grunge. They were swept up in that grunge era too. They're great. They were great. They were one of my favorite bands. I saw them open from Monster Magnet, and they blew me the fuck away. And I was like, Paul from Lawrence can't. They had 2 big songs on MTV at the time. And then I saw like, your Ministries. I could have seen 9 Inch Nails before they were big, but I went and saw like an industrial dance show instead.
Whoops.
Yeah, it was 9 Inch Nails opening for Peter Murphy at the Academy in New York City, and I went to see Thrill Kill Cult, Consolidated, Meat Beat Manifesto, and MC 900 Foot Jesus instead. Yeah, that wasn't a good choice there. That was a bad choice.
Yeah.
Jane's Addiction, I didn't see till much later.
I've never been a fan, man. Pharrell's voice is grating to me.
Oh, he's like one of the best. I mean,
I get it.
That was that period. And I think we're forgetting a couple of the biggies there, like a couple of the big ones there. But I think of all of
Chains,
them,
Alice in Chains. I don't think you mentioned them.
I saw Alice in Chains open for Third Base and LL Cool J and Fishbone, which, by the way, if you go on YouTube and you query that, you'll see me in the crowd.
Really?
Moshing for all of them in a Meat Beat Manifesto t-shirt.
Nice.
Yeah, that was great. Alice in Chains opened the show. I remember because Lane may have had a cast on his arm and he just cut his hair. And they went on first. They played 20 minutes. Yeah, that was on a concert series. It was called ABC in Concert. And it was called the Deaf. It was like featuring deaf guests with the Def Jam logo, and the deaf guests were Third Base and LL Cool J. LL Cool J headlines. That wasn't very fun. He went on after Fishbone, which was just like not a good look there. But if you ever want to see this, just put Alice in Chains in concert ABC. You'll see them. They only aired Man in the Box and Sea of Sorrow. I am bopping all over. I'm a skinny dude in a white BP manifesto bopping all over that motherfucker.
Okay.
That's a fun one. Yeah. And then I saw like Morrissey at MTV. I saw Soundgarden at MTV in the studio because I had a hook up there. Oh my God. Who else did we see there? That was it. It was before, remember Total Request Live?
Yeah.
Before that, it was called Hanging with MTV. And a lot of people don't know this. Everybody who knows this is probably dead, but it was the precursor. And my friends were producers there, and my brother Mike became an intern there for MTV Sports. Oh, Pantera! I'm in the Pantera vulgar video.
Oh, okay.
How could I forget that? That's one of the best. That's one of the best. The Pantera story is one of the best stories I probably could ever tell. Oh, the Beastie Boys with Matt. We were in the VIP thing with Matt Dillon. That was cool. But the Pantera story, which is funny because they're so big again now, right? I don't know. Do you like Pantera?
Yeah. The kiddo definitely likes Pantera too. So
I'll tell you a true Pantera story, right?
Okay.
So Pantera are the biggest metal band in the world. It is now the vulgar display of power era. Right after that, the album right after that, around that time period. So I'm on that vulgar video a lot because they played a small club during Cowboys from Hell when he had like the mohawk. I'm all over that. I'm on stage in that video. So my buddy is one of the producers of MTV Sports. And he goes, hey, we're on the guest list at the Roseland Ballroom. It was Pantera. I think it was Pantera and White Zombie, or it was Pantera and Prong. It was Pantera and White Zombie, something like that, right? So I'm on the guest list with him. I'm like, maybe at this point, I'm like 240 pounds. I'm like a big dude. And it's and we show up there, and the Roseland when you're in the VIP, here's the stage facing like this, and on the side right here on a tier, that's the VIP. And there's only one VIP. This is the way it used to be at Roseland Ballroom in New York. So we get there early, and we're in the regular section, but we got our VIP things. We go to the VIP section, and it's all people like Skid Row, Anthrax, all these people hanging out in the VIP. And then my buddy had just shot, Phil Anselmo, the singer of Pantera. So Phil Anselmo was becoming like a celebrity, and he was like this cool tattoo guy at the time. People really liked him. So he had just shot Phil playing basketball with two, I think, of the Seattle Seahawks, Supersonics. Maybe Sean Kemp, I think, was one of them, and I figured the other one was. But they were kind of popular, Seattle Supersonics. So he played basketball with them. And he's like, listen, we got to go talk to Phil because I got to talk to him about this. I go, Phil Anselmo? He goes, yeah, at some point tonight, we got to have a talk with Phil. So it's just me and my buddy Gil, who's like the producer. And he's like the only reason I'm in this circumstance, right? So I'm getting free booze. I'm meeting all these people. There's a lot of girls. Dimebag Darrell's running around like a fucking lunatic at the after party. And the Roseland was the downstairs where all the coat rooms were, but everybody's kicked out. But now but it's like hundreds of people at this after party, right? So we finally get to Phil Anselmo. It's like an hour after the show. Pantera just leveled this place, bro. I mean, he was so dynamic, young at the time. He's a tall, skinny guy at this point, right? So he sees Gil, and he's like, "Where those people? Oh, I got to talk to you, man. I got to talk to you." So Gil's like, "Hang out here for 1 second. Let me just talk to him." I go, "Let me come over and say hello." He goes, "Yeah, come over and say hello." So I go over to Phil Anselmo. Now, I met Phil Anselmo once before, but this was like, he wasn't as famous. Now he's like really famous, and he's glossy eyed, and he smells like cigarettes and weed and booze. And he's like, "Hey, what's up, man?" Blah, blah, blah. So he's like, "Bro, when's it gonna air?" Like all this other stuff. So he's like, "Let me talk to you for a minute." So he goes to the side with Phil Anselmo, right? And I'm hearing the earshot, and Phil Anselmo's like, "You just got to tell me when it's airing, because I told everybody I know. I played with Sean Kemp, and I played with Gary Payton, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm a little excited, and blah, blah, blah." And Gil's like, "Yeah, man, it was great. It was fucking great. It was fucking great. Just let me know, man. I'm really excited about this. Yo, let Andy know." Andy Gold was their manager. And Andy Gold is this like big producer now, and he produced all like the Rob Zombie movies. He's like this short English guy who's like a power broker, and he's like, yeah, Phil's so excited about this, and I'm watching this. I was like, this is so cool, this is so cool. So he hugs Gil. We're getting ready to walk away from Phil and Andy, and we get like 2 feet away, and then Gil leans over to me and he goes, "We're never airing that, by the way. It's never going to air." And I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "He was so fucked up during the taping. We can't air that. No way. No chance. It's never airing. We're not even going to keep the footage probably." Because he was so fucked up.
Yeah.
Like like he was missing like layout. Like it just looked terrible. And they had shot this thing somewhere in New York. And it was just, but to see Phil Anselmo, he was so excited about this. Like, I played with Sean Kemp and Gary Payton. Did you know that I shot hoops the other day? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know anything about like this kind of shit. And I'm just like, wow, that's going to be so cool. When is that airing? But as soon as he was gone, my buddy Gil was like, dude, he's a fucking drunken mess. We can't air that fucking shit. I was like, wow, dude, that's some Hollywood shit right there. But that was like, that was like the last time. And Dimebag Darrell, we were in a room. I think we were smoking weed in a room in the Roseland bar. And Dimebag Darrell comes in with no shirt and a bottle of fucking something. And he was like, "You guys drinking? You guys drinking? You guys drinking?" And we're like, yeah, we're fine. He goes, all right. As long as you're all right. And then he walks away. And it was like something out of like an Animal House movie, you know?
That's
and
wild.
I'm standing there. I'm like 22,
right.
You know, still trying to be like a music person. And I'm like, man, this is going to be like, this would be the life. You know what I mean? Like it was just like a wild, I got to experience that as like a friend of a friend. I didn't get to experience, I wasn't there because I was a music person. I was there because I was friends with a music person. You know what I mean? It was kind of humbling, you know, this super smoking hot girl comes over to me and is like, and I'm like very like House of Pain looking out, you know? And she's like, where do I know you from? And I was like, what? Like this. And I'm like leaning back with I think I had like a Pittsburgh Steeler wool hat. Everybody's wearing like wool hats. And I was like in my car hat, like leaning over drunk. And she was just like, I know you from House of Pain. And I was like, shit. That's right. You know me from House of Pain. Like, you know, not that I was in, but like I'm down with House of Pain because I looked like somebody who would be down with House of Pain at the time, which is really funny because years later I would open for Danny Boy at CBGB's. He was doing a solo rap set with a group called Lords of Brooklyn. And we opened that show. And he's such a tall guy. And I'm such a fan of House of Pain. And he comes over, he's like, "Hey man, I'm Danny." And I was like, "Yeah, motherfucker, of course I know." Like, you know what I mean? It's just so weird. And then I go, "Dude, I got a funny," and I told him that story. And he was like, "I hope you got lucky." I was like, I was too drunk. I probably fucked it up in 2 seconds. You know what I mean? And then he said something to me like, "You know, it's funny because I thought I knew you. And because I just look like somebody you would know, like I just look like somebody you would know or something." And he knows all these hardcore guys. But yeah, it's like bumping into like people in music and stuff like that is so fucking fun, dude. Dude, I'll tell you a funny story. I was at Lollapalooza too. I know we're wrapping up here, but my girlfriend at the time, we were at Lollapalooza 2. It's like 94, I think. And Ministry is playing. I'm a big fan of Ministry. But they're the loudest band I've ever heard in my life. And even I'm like, my ears are like dying, right? So my girlfriend at the time was like, I just got to try to find a way far away from this open field with like 40,000 people. And we were trying to go to like a section where it wasn't as loud, and we're walking far away. And we didn't realize we crossed into a section where you're not supposed to be, like at all. And then like, but nobody's stopping us because we're just a guy and a girl, like a girl doing this, you know? And it's like the holding areas for the bands, right? And where she's not paying attention, she's literally holding her hands over her ears. She was a little bit of a weirdo. And she walks right into a group of people. And the guy she walks into is a very sweaty, very shirtless, very high Chris Cornell.
Oh,
like,
okay.
And like, boom. And then she was like, "Oh," like this. And then he was like, "You okay?" And then a security guy comes over and he was like, "Why are you holding your ears?" She was like, "It's so loud." He was like, "It's rock and roll." And he just looks so nice. And I was like, that was Chris Cornell. Like, you know, like, holy shit, dude. That's Chris fucking. This is with the long hair, no shirt,
right?
Combat boots, half cut sweats. Chris Cornell,
like fucking outshined Chris Cornell.
Yeah, this is not even Bad Motorfinger. I think it's the record before that. Is that Bad Motorfinger? Yeah, but Motorfinger was that
so,
album.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a bad motherfucker back then. You know. Yeah, it's fun.
That if anyone I didn't get to see, like that is,
He was.
I mean, obviously it's too late now.
Yeah.
But that's good. That's my biggest regret.
Yeah, the Nirvana, because I could have met Nirvana.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Nine Inch Nails, I'm not a big fan of, but to see them when they were nobody is kind of a cool thing to have in your cap.
Right,
You
absolutely.
know what I mean? Like Pearl Jam, when I saw Pearl Jam Alive just broke on New York Rock Radio, and they were opening this Chili Peppers tour for Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and the Pumpkins just put out Siamese Dream. So these were the two biggest bands. Other than Jane's Addiction for Ritual Deal Habitual, these were the bands. Nirvana was going to be the next band, and so was Pearl Jam. And like Pearl Jam, literally, I walked in, they were doing a Fugazi cover, like in the Roseland, and kids are moshing all over the fucking place. I go, is that Fugazi? like no, Pearl Jam's playing a Fugazi song, and then they walked into Once. No, I'm so sorry. They opened the show with the song Once, and then they went into the Fugazi cover, and then they did Even Flow, and then they did Alive, and that was like their set. And everyone was like, this band is amazing. Who the fuck is this? Like, this is before Jeremy or any of that shit.
Right.
I mean, to see that, dude, like you just, Eddie Vedder was like, this midget looked so cool. He just looked so cool. And like, there were girls at the show because a lot of girls like the Chili Peppers and Smash. And I think, what's his face? Billy Corgan just cut his hair.
Okay.
Somebody hit him with a slipper or something.
Nice.
And he threatened to leave. And he goes, what do you want me to say? You guys are great. You just hit me with a shoe. Oh, fine. You're the best audience we've ever played for. And I was like, what a cunt, but they're so great. Like, it was,
yeah. Corgan's always seemed like he's a little like
talented guy. Talented guy.
Like, I heard he's like just a super big perfectionist, which I mean, as an artist, you kind of expect, but like I've heard he takes it to like the nth degree.
He used to play all the instruments on the album. Like people probably don't know that. Like he would play all the first album. He wrote everything and played almost all the instruments.
I think I've heard that before in passing.
Yeah, because he's that good.
Yeah.
The only people who do that are the people who are good enough to do it, Rich. Nobody's good. Yeah. Like when I remember when Foo Fighters.
I know Dave Grohl did that. Yeah. There you go.
But I'm saying like this is a very select few amount of people that would be like, it's a band, but just so you know, I played all the guitar. I wrote every song. I played the bass. I played the rhythm guitar. And then there was also some piano I played. And I'm like, whoa, who the fuck is this? I'm in awe of people who have that ability.
Right. And you're sitting there like, I can barely take a shower.
I'm like I could use iambic pentameter pretty well to make some words rhyme. But it's been a weird journey, dude. I'm happy with where it ended up. And I'm very grateful for all this shit.
Oh my God. Like it's like, not to be all jealous, but it's like, well, I wish I could see stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been
like that's such a cool thing.
Surface, like I ended up like hanging out with a lot more people, but these are things like it's funny now. Like Pantera just sold out the Garden a couple nights.
Yeah,
and if you would have told me in '94 that Phil Anselmo would outlive Chris Cornell, Scott Weiland, Eddie Vedder for that.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. I wouldn't say Weiland. Weiland was going, but
yeah, but Weiland, it seemed like he could do this forever. Like he's been a heroin addict for 20 years.
That's fair. Yeah, professional.
Like Al Jorgensen has been a heroin addict for like 35 years. Not on the same level, but that he would like Phil Anselmo would outlive half the band of Pantera. Half the band. Now, what happened to Dimebag is disturbingly unbelievably beyond sad. But at no point when I saw that dude, like all fucking, fucked up, did I think,
I'll be seeing you in 30 years, I bet.
When I'm 52, so he's a year older than me, I think. So he's like 54 maybe. He's a little older than me. That a 54-year-old Phil Anselmo would be selling out 2 nights at the Garden. And that's just 2 nights. That Pantera reunion, as you know, that's a big show for people. They're on tour with Lamb of God, playing in arenas every night. They played stadiums over the summer with like big bands. Like I just never would have, that was not the guy like I thought would outlive and outlast, and I certainly even like Chris Cornell, like no one ever talked about Chris Cornell being a junkie. No one ever. Never, dude. No one never, ever would put him in that Cobain, Scott Weiland, what's his face from that Tones of Home
Lane.
song. Lane
Oh.
Stanley. Yeah, Lane
Mm.
Stanley. And Shannon Hoon from Blind
Yeah.
Melon.
Yep.
You know, what's his face from Mother Love Bone? Like, you know, all these like guys that are just like, yeah, they lived really hard, they died really young. You know, Phil Anselmo is like a mid-50s guy singing Cowboys from Hell in front of tens of thousands of people.
The body's a weird thing, man. It is super durable
Yeah.
somehow, some way, but then it's super fragile. It makes no
Time.
sense.
Time is a weird thing too. You know,
Yeah.
time has a way of there's something about surviving, you know, in you know, I just saw I'm not the biggest Pearl Jam guy, but I have a lot of respect for Pearl Jam. But Pearl Jam, like, you know, they just announced a tour and their tickets, people were complaining about how much they were at the Garden in New York. And I'm just like, you know, I spent $25 to see Lollapalooza.
Right.
I could like, you know, I think a Biohazard show up here is $45. You know what I mean? It's just like I spent $15 to see some of these people. I spent $12.75, I think, to see some of these people. I think the most expensive ticket I bought back then was Slayer playing under an assumed name at a small club. You know, I mean, it's like it's a wild thing. I gotta really kind of put a lot of this down on paper, and I've been talking to somebody who wants me to very badly because, you know, it's weird to say you saw all of these people and you met some of them and you played and you know, and then you just sort of just disappeared and then you ended up on a wrestling podcast.
Dude, you're literally a walking memoir, dude. Like
I think we're gonna do something with this.
You
like,
really need to, because
yeah, I think so.
I'll buy 4 fucking copies.
Well, why don't you just buy one and tell 4 people? I'll tell you, we'll make a deal with you. Buy one and tell 4 people, and we'll call it, and we'll call it even.
Okay.
But yeah, dude, I got to split. But listen,
no, thank you so much, man.
Time, bro. Thank you.
No, absolutely. So here, before you got to get going, tell everyone where they can find you.
Spitball Media Podcast. There is a weekly show, comes out every Thursday across all platforms. It's also available for YouTube, and then there's a Patreon for bonus shows. There's like I think like 1,200 hours of exclusive content for a very small Patreon group that we have, that people do question and answer shows, and then occasionally for wrestling stuff after big shows, or occasionally I'll be on Wrestling Soup, which is still, I think now it's in like 13 years now. God, wow.
Jesus.
Wow. I think Soup is 13 years.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. Wow. My God, they've been on that air that long, but they're still doing great over there. And it's, I just recorded with them last week for the Elimination Chamber. Hopefully I'll probably do something with them for Mania. But yeah, if you like,
I'm sure they'll want you.
Oh, well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know if, you know, it's 2 nights, you know, maybe I'll do one of the nights, but I got to talk to Mish. But if you like music, not so much music, we do talk about music, but if you're really into movies and like what's going on with movies, for like every Thursday, all we do is talk about stuff going on in the entertainment industry, mostly movies and streaming, some business stuff related to it that a lot of people say, hey, I didn't even know about that. So you guys talked about it. We will cover music. We do cover like streaming TV shows, but our passion is really like, you know, we love talking about movies. Like I could talk about movies for 50 hours straight and not get bored. Especially now, you got like the Oscars coming up, and you know, there's some big things happening. I'm hearing a lot of great shit about Dune 2, which I'm shocked. People are saying it is like you have to see it. When I thought the first one was, I fell asleep in the first one. So yeah, I literally fell right asleep. Like old man just went like this. But I fall asleep in movies sometimes, you know. I go to the movies every week. I'm also someone who goes to movies every week. Like that's
really?
Yeah, on every Saturday I wake up, I got a movie pass and I go see a movie every week.
No shit. Huh.
I saw a movie last week that no one's ever heard of, that no one was in the theater, from Canada, because it won the Toronto Film Festival, called Seagrass. It's like a 90s relationship movie that I thought looked pretty interesting. I saw some German teacher movie the week before that's nominated for Best Foreign Film. I'll probably go see Dune 2, you know, this weekend. But generally, I try to see a movie every week. My wife used to work weekends, so my kids are away at school. So I'll just be like, yeah, all right, I'll be back in a few hours. And
Yeah.
then like I have like a routine. Like I get my shit done in the morning. I go to the movies. I come back home. I finish my laundry. I pop some edibles and I make a drink, and then I'll like just chill the fuck out, for the rest of the night. But that's what I do. I don't really go out that much these days. My hearing's really bad from shows, so I try not to go. I really don't go to shows that much. I wish I could, but I'm not. I don't like being at shows with earplugs. Like it's not fun for me.
I would say it takes away from the kind of.
Well, what the problem is, like I know a lot of people, so it's like I can't have a conversation with you with. I have very high end earplugs. I have like the highest ones you can get. And
really?
Like because I have tinnitus, so it's like I have to like one ear is just constant ringing 24 hours a day for like 10.
Shit, dude.
I think it's like going on 16 years. But it gets worse as you get older. It's just gonna, at a certain point, it's just gonna be that. That's it. There's gonna be my left ear. So I'm not blowing that on like some local blowjob show, or some friends bullshit band for the 50th time. Like I'm gonna go, I'll save that for like the Misfits or like something good. But I try to go to the movies every weekend, and then I'll put on music and I'll pop a couple edibles. I'll open a Guinness. I'll make a fucking old fashioned. And I'll sit and I'll listen to the fucking Smiths, or I'll listen to fucking, some Ministry, or some old OG hardcore shit. And then I'll watch, I'll stream some classics, and then I'll wake up, throw up, and then rinse, repeat.
Nice.
Yeah, so I got that going.
American dream.
I am the American dream, Rich. I am the American dream. But say what's up to your partner there, man. I'm starting to get to hang out with him.
No, hey, look, no worries, man. And once again, I sincerely appreciate you taking out the time.
Oh, I appreciate
this late in the day, man. So I actually stopped doing the audio only. I strictly am just doing this on YouTube now.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I figured that. So StreamYard, yeah.
Yeah, it just makes more sense because I have like 4 times more viewers on YouTube than I do on the audio only. It's like.
Yeah, I never like we have the show on there, but I'm so bad. I'm just not. I'm like a audio medium person, so it's just like I don't care about being on. Everybody knows what the fuck I look like, but like that's another thing too. Like I've never been like a shy, like you could deduce who I am in 2 seconds. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like I don't play that game. Like a lot of people are like, oh, if they know my real name, they're gonna go crazy. Like, dude, I've been my family like. Are you kidding? Like,
I mean, the stories you just told, like, fucking Christ, like the Northeast knows who you are.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody knows my family. Like, they don't know me as Jon Draper. They don't know Kevin. They know Kevin as Kevin Castle.
Right.
They know me by my stage name, Dolores Levine. That was my stage name for many years.
Okay.
But shout out to Pittsburgh, man. It's a good town. I like that town quite a bit. I'm quite fond of Pittsburgh. That's in my top. I've actually on the air. I've said this on other shows. People that ask me, what was your favorite places to play? I go, it's a really great place that I had a lot of fun in, Pittsburgh. And like, and I was like, actually, Scranton's not bad either. And like Dewey Beach, Delaware, like it's never like LA, like I'm not that guy. It was like, oh, LA is the greatest place. Like, well, I only played in Arizona. I never played in LA. I hung out in the West Coast, but
I mean, like, I think we're definitely in the top 50 states.
It's a fun place to, it's not a bad, it's not a bad place. Put it that way.
No.
You know what, Rich? There's worse places. Let's leave it at that.
Right. It could be West Virginia.
Well, if you and your wife make that trip out to the city, let me know, man. If she wants to go see a show.
Like I was gonna ask you, like, hey, look, whenever we eventually venture up there, I'm gonna have to hit you up and let you know, or find out, hey, where can we not get murdered and what's okay to go to?
Yeah, if you want to go to a show and you want to get tickets, I got a guy. So don't.
Okay, nice.
We'll get you set up with the good stuff.
I like it.
Well, that's something a New Yorker. We got a guy for everything. So
I mean, that's fair.
I got a guy for that. Put it that way. I got a guy.
Yeah.
If you want like drywall, I got a guy. If you want Broadway tickets, I got a guy. If you want someone to get beat up walking out of their house going to the gym, I got a lot of guys for that. So
I mean, we got a soccer guy for you if but you may have already crossed paths with them.
A soccer guy?
A soccer guy.
Who's the
your story? Like the soccer dad.
Oh, the soccer dad.
Yeah.
They scared me. I'm actually, what's funny? I've become one of those guys.
Oh no.
Like I'm looking at myself and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of one of those guys now. If my kid was playing a thing and a bunch of 20-year-olds were like, let's see what this is all about over here. Hold on, let's go.
Oh, dude, I've become that get off my lawn guy a little bit. Like I don't mean to be, but I'm kind of like.
Well, no one should be on your lawn, Rich. That's what it comes down to.
I mean, that's true. I start yelling at cars that are going. I'm like, fucking slow down.
Yeah. Oh no, we do that around here. We look. It's a quiet. I'm in a quiet college town block.
Yeah.
But like, we hate the college people. Like, they hate the townies, and we hate most of them all come from downstate, and then they don't know that they're lipping off to like a Brooklyn person. You know what I mean? So, but I'm not a small dude, so I don't really have to worry about that kind of stuff. Especially older big guys don't really worry about any of these things.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt. The whole, I kind of walk around with a scowl, unfortunately, and I got the tattoos and the bald and the
like
beard.
Nobody, like it's not, it's so passe now, but it still carries a little bit of fake weight.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like
it's like a shake weight of intimidation. It's like a shake weight of intimidation.
Yeah, perception's everything.
Yeah, exactly. But like that's what I'm saying. Like even with the beard, and everyone's like, "Oh, why don't you dye your beard?" And I'm like, "So I'm supposed to pretend I'm not the age I tell everybody I am all the time?" Like, what is
that's super weird, man. Same thing with like the whole hair plugs and like dye hair. Just fucking embrace it, dude. Just fucking who cares?
Where am I going? Like how many years do you think I got left? Like that I gotta worry about this.
Super weird.
Great talk with you, brother.
Yeah, you too, man. You take it easy, and I'll get to stop here tomorrow, and I'll see you tomorrow on the.
Yeah, come hang out in the room, man. We're gonna have a wild night tomorrow. We got a lot of fun stuff tomorrow.
Will do. I'll be there with bells on.
Later. Thanks.
All right, buddy.